Hello and welcome. In this video I'm going to complete a series of tasks for mpls on OcNOS devices. As you can see in my topology, I have a service provider in the name of Orhan Ergun IT Solutions, or OE Net Solutions, which supports multiple technologies regarding mpls. And you can see that there are 4 different customers. Each one of them has 2 branches in this network. I can go with multiple branches for each one of the customers, but just for the sake of simplicity, I have decided to have 2 branches for each customer here. Each one of the customers, of course, is going to be configured with a specific technology, for example, VPWS, VPLS, L3 VPN, and EVPN. But we are not going to be limited to these technologies, and in case there is a need for another technology, I'm going to introduce it to the network as well. So what you are seeing here is not going to be almost everything that you are going to receive. In this topology, my service provider has something like 5 different routers. 2 of them, router 1 and router 5, are going to act as provider edge, but in real providers, of course, you are going to see multiple provider edge routers. In here, router 2, 3, and 4 are going to be internal provider routers, and they are not going to be so strong routers. But here, of course, as you can see, I have decided to only have 3, but in big service providers you might have much more than this. And everything, when I say everything, I mean 99% of the configuration is going to happen on provider edges, which is going to be router 1 and router 5 in my case. For the first task, of course, we are going to make sure that the underlay network is going to be configured. After that, we are going to configure overlay on top of this, and this overlay is going to be used to create different types of tunnels to make sure that customers can talk to each other while they are isolated from other customers, and we are not going to have any kind of conflicts between the prefixes or the traffic that goes for each one of the customers inside our network. So now that you see the overall lab here, what we are going to do is to configure the underlay here. We can go with different types of protocols, but ISIS is the protocol of choice for this task. The task says configure ISIS in the service provider network. So let's do this. What I'm going to do is to say there is just one single domain. All of the routers are going to be L2 only, and I'm going to have an area number of, let's say, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or whatever area number that you are going to have. Or let's say, for example, area number 0, whatever. So let's just do the configuration here. So I'm going to start from router 1, go to configuration mode, and in here I'm going to say router ISIS, and let's say the name is going to be OE. The most important part is going to be net, and that's going to start with whatever number, but I'm going to go with 49. Like I said, in ISIS labs, this number is not going to be important. It used to be important when it was the beginning of ISIS, and in those days we had the first 2 digits used for different purposes. 49 was the private network, and that is why we use 49 most of the other numbers, but you can go with 0, 1, 10, whatever number that you wish. 49 is just a customary number here, so it is not going to be so important. The area number, let's say 0001, or whatever number that you are going to have. And after that, the system ID, this is router 1. I believe I can just inject my loopback IP address here, whatever number that I want to have here. Based on the policy that we have, we can inject a lot of different types of information in system ID. Again, I'm going to be super simple, so what I'm going to do is to say 0000, 0000, and 0001. This is the router number that I'm injecting here, and in the end, of course, end selector is going to be 0 only. Also, I'm going to use dynamic host name so that when I check my ISIS neighbors, I can see the actual name R1, R2 instead of this ID which you see here 0000 until 1 in the end. The other things that I want to have is this. If I just go with the commands here, one of the commands which I'm going to use is going to be passive interface, and I'm going to say Loopback is going to be passive, and hit enter. And also later, of course, I will use the redistribute for different purposes. If I go up, the most important one is going to be this one, is type, which is going to be L2, level 2, of course, level 2 only. And finally, what we are going to do is to go for, we can just configure BFT here, as a matter of fact, just for fast detection. But what I'm going to do is to go under each one of the interfaces and then configure those interfaces with ISIS, and specifically Ethernet 1, 2, and loopback are going to be the interfaces. So I'm going to say interface ETH1 IP router ISIS OE. ETH2 is going to have the same command, and interface loopback is going to have the same command. So I'm going to say commit and end and save the configuration. So let's start the configuration on other routers as well. So if I just say show run router ISIS, you can see that this is the configuration that I have. Pretty much everything is going to be similar on other routers. If I just open a notepad here and paste the configuration here, the only thing that I'm going to change is going to be this one. So I'm going to copy this, go to router 2 configuration mode and paste it here. Then the interfaces which should be under ISIS is going to be interface loopback, IP router ISIS OE, interface ETH 1, 2, and 3. Okay, now I'm going to say commit and end, and there we are. Now if I just say show CLNS neighbors, you can see that right now I am in adjacency with router 1, and the dynamic hostname, of course, made sure that I see R1 instead of the system ID, and this is the MAC address of the adjacent interface, which is going to be Ethernet 1 of router 1. Okay, and you can see that the type is only level 2 because we just decided that we are going to have L2 only. So let's just do some changes here. Go to router 3 and paste the configuration. On router 3 I have more interfaces, so that would be Ethernet 1 to 4, interface ETH1, IP router ISIS OE, it should be IP router, of course, interface ETH2, ETH3, ETH4, interface loopback, and commit the configuration and end, and WR. Okay, so this timed out. I need to log in one more time. I'm using Peanut Lab for this lab, by the way. Router 4 has 234, so I'm going to change this configuration a little bit. 4. On router 4, I'm going to do the same thing. Interface ETH 2 and 3 and 4. Yes. IP router ISIS OE, three, 4, and loopback. Okay, commit and save the configuration. And finally we have router 5, which is going to have Ethernet 1 and 3 in this protocol. And you can see that the interface is connecting towards the customer on both sides. I have not decided to put them into ISIS. What I'm going to do later is I might redistribute them into ISIS using redistribute the connected interfaces, or I might do something else, like for example changing BGP if I'm creating BGP next hop to self. let's say that redistribution is going to be my choice right now. So on router 5, the interfaces are going to be 1 and 3. So let's change this configuration a little bit. Router 5, Control C, configure terminal, and interfaces, as I said, it's going to be 1 and 3. EAT 1, IP router, ISIS OE, EAT 3, going to be this. Interface loopback is going to be like this. Commit and NWR. Okay, like I said, on router 1 I'm going to redistribute the connected interfaces. So if I just go to router 1 and say show IP interfaces brief, you can see that these are the interfaces that I have configured: Ethernet 4, 5, 6 and 7, and you can see that I have IP addresses assigned to these, but they are not part of ISIS, and they are not going to be ISIS active interfaces. I can just go under them and say router ISIS, and then under the actual ISIS process I can say passive interface these, but I guess redistribution is going to be a better option. So if I just say router ISIS OE, what I'm going to do is to say redistribute connected, and I can redistribute routes into level 2, but I guess I don't really need to because I only have level 2, and that's going to be okay if I just do this. The same thing I'm going to do on router 5. So configure terminal, router ISIS OE, and redistribute connected, and commit and end and WR. Okay, now that I have done this, I can just check the networks into my IP routing table. So if I just say show IP route, okay, so you can see that some of the routes, of course, are marked with L2, which are exactly what I wanted to have. These are the loopback interfaces of 1 to 5. This is the network between 1 and 2, between 1 and 3, between 1 and 6, which is going to be this, connected to the company ABC network. 1 and 10, which is for Alex. 1 and 12, which is for Globetrotter. 1 and 14, which is for Kenzo. And on the other side, of course, if I just reduce the size of this, you can see that I have, okay, not like this. And I really wanted to have them inside one window, but anyway, so if I just go to router 5, and let me just close this and open this one more time, because I didn't really want it to happen, and it happened in a way that fixing that is going to take more time than just opening them again. So, and if I just go to view or window and say tabs, that's going to be arranged into tabs. Okay, that's it. Good. So in here, if I just go to router 5 and check the commands one more time, you can see that I have the network between 5 and 8, which is this one. Between the other branch, I have Alex, which is between 5 and 11. 5 and 13, and 5 and 15 for these two companies. So I have almost everything, and you can see that these are the connected interfaces in here, because router 5 is directly connected to them, and the rest, of course, are L2 because we just decided to redistribute them. On router 3, I can just check the reachability as well, show IP route, just to make sure that everything is here and I am seeing the correct reachability. So with this, the configuration of underlay is finished. I hope this has been informative for you, and see you in next videos.